So, about 8 years ago, I met this old guy, Ellis, Kooby, and found out he did something called network spinal analysis. And I have to admit, I didn't really have that much interest in network spinal analysis. I thought it was just like an extension of chiropractic because it developed out of chiropractic. And I just thought that Alexander technique was the bee's knees. Like, if I do Alexander technique, why do I need this network spinal analysis stuff? So, Ellis Kooby was a pleasant guy to be around. Knew he had a lot of health problems, but we were on friendly terms, always amiable between us. He was pretty good at reading a lot of different social dynamics, completely blind on other social dynamics, like many of us can be like really clued in on some and then completely blind on others. And he was just this nice old guy. We had friends in common. Always enjoyed seeing him. But the point is, unless you knew the late Dr. Kooby, like, this isn't going to have much meaning to you. The point is that often we're friends with people who could absolutely change our lives if we were simply open to their contributions. So I didn't really care about network spinal analysis. I just thought it was some extension of chiropractic, and Alexander technique teachers tend to be suspicious and negative towards chiropractic. So yeah, my basic orientation is, chiropractic's useless. Well, I guess it depends on what I read. So sometimes I read that critique that chiropractic's useless at best, dangerous, at least most forms, and whatever. So that's the bias of being an Alexander technique teacher, is or if you're devoted to any particular healing discipline, you tend to think, oh, this is the one, and everything else is an inferior breed. So as long as I'm doing Alexander technique or chiropractic or yoga or whatever, I don't need these other modalities. That's what people in the healing field like to call these different techniques, like modalities. It means that you're a serious, educated guy in the healing profession. And so then I was struggling a lot with fatigue, and didn't have any spare money, so thought maybe you have to do some trade Alexander technique for network spinal analysis. Like Dr. Kooby had an interest in Alexander technique, and I guess I had a mild interest in network spinal analysis. And so I talked to a friend about, maybe do you think Dr. Kooby would go for a trade? And a year, maybe 2 years went by without me doing anything about it. Okay. And then September, I believe 2015, I went in for my first trade, my first session of network spinal analysis. And it was amazing. It was amazing that it seemed to do things that Alexander technique didn't address as quickly. Okay, so it's a very different modality than Alexander technique. Alexander technique is a technique you practice yourself. Okay, network spinal analysis, by contrast, like chiropractic, is done to you. Okay, you lie on the table, you're pretty much passive, and the network spinal analysis practitioner does things to you. But sometimes when people do things to you, such as with network spinal analysis or chiropractic or strain, counter-strain physical therapy. They can often relieve you of muscular spasms and just general muscular contraction, tightness patterns that you might not reach through Alexander Technique, or you might reach them, but only after months of practice of the Alexander Technique, or even years. And instead, you can go to a chiropractor or a network spinal analysis guy, or I guess acupuncture, or I'm a big fan of strain counter strain physical therapy, otherwise known as positional release physical therapy. You can go there and boom, they can take care of these muscular contraction patterns, these muscular spasms, like right there on the spot, in ways that you might never ever reach through Alexander Technique, or you might only reach after years of practice, or weeks of practice, or months of practice. So different modalities have different strengths and weaknesses, and it's arrogant for me as an Alexander Technique teacher to think that Alexander Technique just addresses all of this stuff. There may very well be certain muscular problems that various forms of physical therapy or network spinal analysis address better. So I went to Dr. Ellis Kooby the first times, and like, whoa! I felt like my nervous system got rebooted, and he eventually came to call his practice Reboot Care. It was like a reboot for the nervous system. And as a result of going to see Dr. Kooby, I felt like I got in touch with my spine. I would come out of those sessions and I'd be stronger, I'd be clearer, I'd be more assertive. I might even be angry. Like, I just got in touch with my spine in a way that nothing else really did for me. And so it didn't take many sessions for me with Dr. Kooby in network spinal analysis to realize that this guy had stuff, had learning and insights, contributions to make that I could benefit from. And if you look at my blog, like prior to September 2015 and after September 2015, you find a much more muscular, assertive blogging style, which I attribute to my sessions with Dr. Kooby. My health improved, and at the same time I was getting into these 12-step programs to do with money, earning, debting, prosperity. And so my life was changing rapidly. So shortly after I began network spinal analysis, I doubled my work hours. I kept my old job, I took a new job. I went from working 20 to 30 hours a week to working to 40 to 60 hours a week. And I think the network spinal analysis was a key part of that transformation, and my life really started to change. When I started network spinal analysis, I had about $52,000 in credit card debt, and in less than 3 years I'd paid it all off. So I discovered my spine, I discovered my assertiveness, aggressiveness, even my anger, and I was able to funnel it, harness it, use it to serve me. And I got a lot of clarity. It seemed to unleash energy. I didn't have the same debilitating fatigue that I'd had prior to network spinal analysis. And I just had to admit that this guy that I'd been friends with for years, and I knew a little bit about what he did, and even though other people swore by what he did, it's like I was content just to be like self-satisfied with my Alexander Technique. Like, what am I going to learn from someone who does network spinal analysis? You know, I don't need that chiropractic crap, but boy did I need it. Boy did it improve my life. And one of the symptoms of under-earning and poverty and misery is idea deflection. Like, there are great ideas all around us, and we just got our deflector shield up, like, we're just not going to listen to anybody. We're like, we know better. We know that's not going to work. We know that's going to suck, man. We know that we just don't have the energy for that. That might be fine for other people, but I'd rather die than work the 12 steps, or I just don't go in for that new age BS, or I just don't believe in God, so there's no reason for me to do X, Y, Z, or I'm just not a religious guy, so why would I want to keep these religious commandments, or just all those deflections that we have up. For example, I've struggled with chronic fatigue syndrome since 1988. And first 6 years were particularly severe, but struggled with it ever since. And much of that time, I was just closed off to looking. Maybe not closed off. I just didn't spend much energy into looking for ways to alleviate, reduce my chronic fatigue syndrome. I got discouraged, and I just wanted to use my meager energy for other things, which is fine, but maybe I had some idea deflection going on. Okay, and so just thinking about Dr. Kooby and the benefits that I got from network spinal analysis is really humbling, because there are probably all sorts of awesome ideas all around me. But right now I've got deflecting shields up against. I just can't hear them. Like, I'm just closed to suggestions, possibilities, new ways of doing things, new approaches, new modalities, new healers, new people in my life, new friendships, new social engagements, just new approaches, a new mindset. I'm just closed. And I've been told by various people that I'm pretty inflexible, which I think is pretty common with people who come from my type of childhood where you grow up in foster care. There's a lot of instability. So as you grow older, you really seize on routine because it makes you feel safe. But in so doing, you shield yourself off from a lot of great ideas. And like, you're so insecure that you just hold on to your familiar ways of doing things, because the pain of discovering a better way of doing things is too intense. Because let's say I go out and I find a better way of doing things, a better mindset, a better approach, and it dramatically improves my life. And then the pain of knowing that, like, the previous 20 years of my pain was all unnecessary if I just adopted this new healing modality, or this chronic crippling emotional problem I had, or emotional pain, physical pain. Like, yeah, I can find a cure now so that I never have to experience that pain again. But the pain of knowing that I went through 20 years of unnecessary pain may be so intense, like that possibility, that I'm just going to close myself off from solutions. Like, I can feel that impulse inside of me, that the pain of knowing how wrong I was, how self-destructive I was, is just too intense to open up to a new way of doing things. Like, I know someone with severe sleep apnea was told for decades to check himself out for sleep apnea. Finally did it, tested, he's got severe life-threatening sleep apnea, but he won't do the CPAP machine. He won't do any of the ways of alleviating sleep apnea, because then he'd have to admit he was wrong. So he would rather die than admit he was wrong. And a lot of us are like that. We would rather die than try something new, to recognize that we were wrong, to recognize that 5, 10, 20, 30 years of pain and suffering that we've endured, the keenest pain, psychological, physical, were all unnecessary, because we wouldn't take solutions, we wouldn't take suggestions, we were just closed off with our idea deflection shield. So, Dr. Kooby's had a lot of health problems as long as I've known him, and then they've accelerated in 2018, haven't seen him that much in 2018. I really got into my video streaming in 2018, so I didn't have as much time to spend with my friends like Dr. Kooby. And over the past 6 weeks, I've kind of owed Dr. Kooby a visit, a call, get back in touch with him. And I had a friend who prompted me, hey, give him a call, go see him. And I just kept putting it off. And then today I get a text that Dr. Kooby died on the first day of Rosh Hashanah. So I just kind of kept putting it off, seeing my friend Dr. Kooby, and he's dead. Because I was so into my streaming. And typically after I finish streaming my show in the evenings, I'm exhausted. I don't want to talk to anyone else. And Dr. Kooby was just so tired the last few months that I like the sessions that used to take 10 minutes were now taking him half an hour, and it just wiped him out. And I don't know. I think we should admit this. We all have an instinctive fear of people with chronic illness, that even if it's not rationally contagious, we all just kind of shy away. And I think we just have to recognize that human tendency so that we can overcome it and visit the sick and be a good friend to people who are sick. But I know during my 6 years of basically bedridden chronic fatigue syndrome, most people just kind of shied away. They didn't want the contagion. They just didn't want to have to deal with seeing like someone who was 22 and seemed to have the world at his feet, and then for no discernible reason his whole world can collapse, and it's painful to see that. And who wants to look at it? And it's much easier to think it's all in their head. And so I was just busy. Put my friendship with Dr. Kooby on hold for a few weeks. I thought maybe I'd see him over Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, over these holidays. I was pretty sure I was going to see him, and he is with us no more. So those are some of my reflections of having my idea deflection shield up, being kind of closed off to leading a full life.